Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are finally back. Yes, I am genuinely so excited. I can't even tell you guys how excited I am to finally be back with all of my friends, just speaking about things that are on my mind. Genuinely, we have so much to catch up on. So much has taken place. What did I miss?
The Daily Wire has parted ways or fired Candace Owens.
The Daily Wire severs ties with Candace Owens.
Candace Owens is fired.
Was she fired or did she leave of her own volition?
Jeremy, the God King of the Daily Wire, announced that the Daily Wire and Candace Owens have parted ways.
Daily Wire and Candace Owens have ended their relationship.
Got to ask you about the recent departure of Candace Owens.
Justifying why he fired Candace.
Like, look what's going on with Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro. I want to know what she was fired for.
Dang. All right. Well, apparently I missed a lot. Welcome back, guys. And this time, it's just Candace. So obviously we have to address the elephant in the room. It would be so inauthentic. It would be so not Candace if we did not address the elephant in the room. And there's really just no way that we can pick up where we just left off. You know what I mean? We can't avoid it. The answer is yes. President Joe Biden did in fact poop his pants in France the other day. Everyone knows he pooped his pants. You know he pooped his pants. I know he pooped his pants. But especially us moms to toddlers, we know what went down. It was an unmistakable, undeniable squat. And I think the most telling part was Joe Biden's face. Jill Biden looked over at her toddler and she just looked like a disappointed mommy. She gave you have got to be kidding me here, now. Didn't I tell you to go to the bathroom before we got into the car? But that, of course, is not the only elephant in the room. I kid. There is a much bigger one, and we will address that too. You know, for me, my podcast, I describe it as just talking to my friends on the phone. That's what it feels like. I don't even feel that the entire world is listening. I kind of am just like, hey, oh my gosh, did you see this? This is crazy. Oh, I just read this crazy book. Oh my gosh, what does this mean about our government? It's corrupt. It's like talking to my family on the phone. And then we kind of sort of find out that the entire world is listening when all of these hit pieces are being written about me. And I'm like, oh, we're basically being spied on. Why is somebody listening to our private conversations? So yeah, when I found out really kind of sort of definitely with the rest of the world that my show had been rather unceremoniously canceled, it was upsetting. It sort of felt like you're talking on those old school cord phones late into the night and like your parents are sleeping and then you think they're sleeping. And then suddenly your mom picks up and she's like, yeah, this conversation is ending right now and you're grounded for 2 weeks. It's over. Deeply, deeply upsetting. And I think also something that was strange is that when most people leave their jobs, they just sort of leave their jobs. It doesn't really become this global news story where everybody feels like they have to comment. Yeah, a worldwide Twitter trend for an entire week. Crazy. And I want to say this. I genuinely, my entire life, I believe that you should always aim to split amicably, whether that's in a relationship, whether you're in the midst of a divorce, which I hope never happens, or whether it's just leaving a job. I mean, why else would we put years in anywhere if you did not want that relationship to end amicably? That should always be the aim. I want you to know that wherever you are going, don't put in years somewhere and then have it be a messy split. And quite frankly, I also think it's the right thing professionally not to speak about why you are splitting or what's happened. But I was shocked, very shocked, and I'm sure you were shocked as well, when no sooner was the split announced than Andrew Klavan just was like, hey, it's me. I pick myself. I'm going to be her crazy ex-boyfriend. It's just like a bizarre tour he went on. He felt like it was his duty, or maybe somebody knighted him and said, you know what, Andrew Klavan, this is your duty to go around and to just smear Candace Owens. Say whatever it is that you want about her. And there's a piece of this that everybody's missing, and I do want to talk about that. I think Lauren Chen really summed it up, or at least pointed to it on Twitter. She sort of said, you know, what's really missing in all of these conversations with Andrew Klavan is, are you guys recognizing that he's basically saying she was really nice to him? That there was nothing that she did from a personality perspective. Yeah, that is kind of the big part that I think a lot of people are missing. Lauren Chen is correct. I was nothing but kind and nice and warm to Andrew Klavan for years. I had what I would describe as a very good working relationship with him, as I do with everybody. It's important to me to always represent myself professionally, also to always be nice and check in on people's lives. And just a few weeks before this, Andrew Klavan was sitting across from me on backstage, asking about my kids, asking us how I was doing, talking to him about the fact that I had had a surgery. I had been walking around in a boot just a little prior to that because I had a surgery back in December. And I think that that is just, I don't know, I don't even want to say it's strange, more than strange. I think it's dishonorable. You know, a lot of people go, oh, why do all of these young men follow Tristan and Andrew Tate? Why don't they follow people like, I don't know, Andrew Klavan? And I've really spent a lot of time trying to understand how it is. And I think this was just recently announced that someone like Andrew Tate has become the third most Googled person in the world. That was recently announced. The third most Googled man in the world is Andrew Tate, his brother. They are from the wrong side of the tracks. How do they gain a following of so many young men following them? I think that one thing I could bet my life on is that if me and Andrew Tate were enemies, he wouldn't be sitting across from me asking me how my kids are. He wouldn't. I also want to say that just in terms of how I've always behaved with my colleagues, if I ever had a disagreement with something that they said, I would never do anything other than to go to them directly. I would not be holding on to anything. In fact, this is a true story. One time, Matt Walsh tweeted something, and I thought that he just didn't have all of the facts. I'm not even going to tell you what the situation was. It wasn't that important. But I just called him, and I was like, hey, saw your tweet. I think that you should talk to this person because I think there's something that you're missing. And Matt was like, oh, well, I'm not going to change my mind on this. And I was like, I'm not asking you to change your mind. I just want to introduce another fact. And I got him on the phone with somebody else and they had a conversation. I don't even know what happened with that conversation, but that's just the way that I would expect colleagues to behave. But you would just raise something directly with the person that you are seeing on a day-to-day basis. But Andrew Klavan didn't do any of that. And what he said about me and the reason why I'm responding forcefully is because it rose to a level not just of tremendous dishonor to him as an individual, but also to blatant defamation. Andrew, he just lied. I know it was just such a weird thing for me to watch. He was lying with such gumption. And I'm going to show you guys how you really can sort of sniff out these sorts of lies in politics in general. And we're going to start by just cutting to Andrew. He, on his second appearance talking about me, because, you know, he really wanted me gone, but also can't stop talking about me, appeared on a show called Cross Politic. And he was explaining my alleged anti-Semitism. Take a listen.
The Daily Wire parted ways with CANDACE Owens, and part of it was things that she was saying that we felt were strongly anti-Semitic. And she was doing it in such a way that it was kind of hard to pin down, so I was trying to show where these things happen.
Strongly anti-Semitic, but in a way that was difficult to catch. So what we're veering into here now, obviously, is just like Black Lives Matter, giving you a definition of racism. It's in a way that only people with expert eyes can see it. Otherwise, he would just throw up a clip and be like, wow, look at this crazy thing Candace said, how anti-Semitic. This guy's really a racist. He's just like dropping N-bombs. Like, obviously, this person is extremely racist. But when you get to this sort of like, it was done in a way, you just know that it doesn't exist. That they're just going to have to make it up. They got to Jussie Smollett it. You know what I mean? You just got to make it up. And guess what? Andrew does just that. He jumps into a Hitler hoax. By the way, let me explain to you what I mean when I say a Hitler hoax. We live in 2024, okay? If somebody ever comes to you and says, like, I don't know, I'm a Black person, and somebody tied a noose and left it around my neck, that's probably a hoax. It's just people are not tying nooses in 2024, and it just reeks of a hoax. For a Jewish person, Andrew is racially Jewish. If they're trying to sell to you that someone just like jumped up on stage and started being like, yes, I love Hitler, or like, you know, this person was just glorifying Hitler, you're probably being lied to. 99.9% of the time, it's a lie. And they do it because they have built up Adolf Hitler in our school books. They know that we instantly just recoil when we hear, oh my God, this person is supporting Hitler. So Andrew just jumps right into a Hitler hoax. And here is what he says, or at least what he says that I said. Take a listen.
But when you start saying things like some of those books Hitler burned were so bad, you know, I was shocked. This is something Candace actually said. I was surprised to learn that the books Hitler was burning, or the Nazis were burning, they weren't good books. They were bad books. They were socialist books.
Andrew, my friend, Andrew, my former colleague, I just don't know how you can do that. Am I broken? Like, I don't have the ability to lie like that. How could you believe that I got on my platform and I was just like, yeah, no, Adolf Hitler, like when he was burning books, it was great. I just thought it would be totally fine for me to do that. Of course, that's not what happened at all. Actually, I wasn't even talking about Adolf Hitler. It was an episode that I was doing on psychology, and I was talking about how a lot of the people that have brought forth modern ideas of psychology were perverts. And I listed 3 Christians among those psychologists. And the psychologist he is referring to is Magnus Hirschfeld. He happens to be Jewish, but that wasn't important to me. I was just talking about psychology. It was no more important than the Christians I had mentioned on that episode. Didn't need to mention that they were Christian, just the fact that they were perverts. And so what he's doing here is he's actually defending a pervert, Magnus Hirschfeld, by pretending that he is Adolf Hitler and that I said, oh my gosh, it's so great that his books were burned. No, I just introduced a fact. An actual fact that lives on the Holocaust Museum website. It's a fact that Magnus Hirschfeld's Sex Institute was burned to the ground by student protesters. Literal fact from the Holocaust Museum website. And here's what I actually said thereafter. In my view, he's a pervert. Doesn't mean that his library or his institute should have been burned down. There's no excuse for burning down an institute. There it is, you guys. Does that sound like someone who's supporting the burning of books in any capacity? No. And that's why he never showed the clip, of course. Am I supposed to believe that he didn't have access to the clips and the statements that I made at the Daily Wire? That he's not subjected to the same fact-checking process that I was subjected to every day that I was at the Daily Wire? That he just couldn't find out what it was that I actually said? Of course he could. He just wanted to lie and he wanted to smear me. And I think that is awful. I think that's really awful. So what is it that I did that actually upset Andrew Klavan? That was kind of what I did. I've had such a great relationship with this guy. What did I do to deserve this? I would never do this to him or any person. What did I do that amounted to him planning an attack on me and smearing my name, absent any clips, absent any context? And he kind of gives it away in the title of his episode, because Christ really is king. And this, honestly, is just where things got a little bit disturbing for me. Andrew, for 5 entire months, had been seething. I mean, unbeknownst to me, never mentioned it to me, never when I saw him, over a tweet that I had sent last November, where I shared a Bible verse. And I ended the Bible verse, here it is, take a look at it, by saying Christ is king. It's just a Bible verse, okay? You will note that nobody is tagged in this verse. This was not a response to any thread. It was a standalone tweet. But remember, Andrew is lying his face off, right? So he says, okay, this is the tweet that upset me. Now I'm just going to pretend that this tweet was delivered in a different way. And here is how he lies again.
The truth that hid wickedness, that I thought was the most wicked truth to use, was the truth that Christ is king. You know, when you spit that phrase at Ben Shapiro,
she used Christ as king in an argument with Ben Shapiro where it obviously carried this weight. And so that's why I was addressing it.
So there you have it. No, of course, I did not spit that phrase at a Jew. I just tweeted it all by itself. I did not use that phrase in an argument with a Jew. I just used that phrase at the end of a Bible verse because that's an appropriate time to use that phrase when I was calling for peace after actually somebody insulted me and called me faux sophisticated. And it was meant as nothing more than, I'm calling for peace. That's it. Christ is king of my heart. I don't need this drama because, if you remember, I was 38 weeks pregnant. And so obviously the world responded because I guess Andrew thought it was such a brilliant idea to launch this attack on Christian doctrine during Easter week. And people didn't like it. They didn't like it. And I just want to say I am so grateful to all of you who defended me and said how wrong this was, what was happening, how you just don't treat a colleague like this, and called out the sinister nature of what it was that he was doing. And he kept it up, trying to justify it, doing interview after interview after people essentially revolted and said, how can you do this thing? By then veering into what I would call Hitler dog logic. They're like, what are you talking about? She said Christ is, what is wrong with her saying Christ is king? And he has an explanation. It's Hitler dog logic. Take a listen.
And there is a substantial coterie of people, anti-Semites, people who hate Jewish people, who are using Christ the King as what the left would call a dog whistle. And they use it to spit at people. There are pictures of Nick Fuentes, who is a raving anti-Semite, shouting Christ the King in this kind of aggressive, pugilistic way to mean essentially Jews are screwed. That's basically what they're saying.
So there you have it, you guys. Candace didn't actually say anything, but this person, Nick Fuentes, also said Christ is king years before Candace. And apparently Andrew Klavan thinks that Nick Fuentes wrote the New Testament. And so anytime you are going to use Christ is king, Jesus is king, you be sure that you recognize his Hitler dog logic. Do you have a dog? Do you guys have a dog? Did you know that Hitler also had a dog? Have you disavowed Hitler today with your dog? Yeah, well, then that would make you a Hitler lover. That is straight up leftist logic. And I love how he attributes that to the left. He's like, well, the left would call this a dog whistle. Apparently the woke right would call that a dog whistle as well, a Hitler dog whistle. You're just basically attaching me to someone for absolutely no reason throughout multiple interviews for no other reason than the fact that you personally have issues with that person because of the way that they have attacked you. It is ridiculous. But you know what? In the scheme of all of this, I can't even be that upset with Andrew because I think he attacked himself in the process. He showed his own character as he was trying to attack mine. He revealed his own character. But you have to ask yourself, what gave Andrew the courage to lie so belligerently? Other than the fact that, by the way, the person in charge of fact-checking at the Daily Wire, the general counsel, is his son-in-law. So I think that probably helped it get through the fact checks. His married to Andrew's son. But what else gave him the courage? Well, what was it that Kanye was saying about the contracts? He must have known that I couldn't reply. He must have felt comfortable knowing that I could not say anything to defend my own name and my own honor, but he tripped into something different when he started lying on me in a way that rose to the level of defamation. And so I can defend myself against you, Andrew. I can defend myself against you and genuinely do not wish bad on you still because I don't want that on my heart. I don't want vengeance and hate on my heart. I wish you all of the goodness in the world. In fact, what I wish upon you is the sacrament of confession for doing something with such thoughts to plot for that long, for months. This is just it just defies belief with me. I could never do that. I would just go speak to my colleague. And here's what I will say. Always in my life, when things like this happen, there is always a reason. And it is because it inspires me. It inspires me to be great. It inspires me to be greater than I had been. And it inspires me to win against people that are doing bad. And so we decided to have some fun. So many of you guys sent me emails. We're just completely inundated with emails of people asking, how can we support you? And it's one thing to be like, hey, we want a donation. It's another thing for us to be able to create a product which will help support this show in all of the ways that it is growing. You guys, I am introducing Standis cups, not to be confused with a Stanley Cup. The first one that I am going to sign is going to go to Andrew Klavan. On the front here, we have the show logo and it says, Christ is King. And yes, indeed, the back says woke right tears. I am telling you guys, these are all the rave. You're going to want to head to clubcandace.com. And when you buy one of these Standis cups, you support the show. You support us being able to stay independent. And by the way, here's what we're going to do. We're going to discontinue these. So this is the white one. We're going to discontinue these every time we hit the next million subscribers. So right now, I think, what are we at? Like 1.5 million subscribers on YouTube. When we get to 2 million, this gets discontinued and we're going to create another Standis cup and you're going to have to collect them all as we climb back up to the following that I had. I think we were close to 4 million subscribers. It's okay. We can rebuild. They get to keep that channel. We get to build this channel and it's all going to be great. So I really do want to thank Andrew Klavan for the inspiration to launch the Standis cups. So many things you can do. It withstands us any temperature. If you have a disagreement with somebody and you want them to understand you, these cups are going to be absolutely amazing. Not to be confused with Stanley Cups. Those are basic. Those are backwards. Those are wrong. Head to clubcandace.com, support the show. And again, you guys, I just want to say thank you so much for every tweet, every Instagram post. I saw it all. I saw it all and genuinely would not be sitting in this chair if it wasn't for all of you who were supporting me from the very beginning of this. And ladies and gentlemen, that really is all I'm going to say about that if my crazy ex-boyfriend, Andrew Klavan, can keep his mouth shut. All right, guys, we're about to get into some stories, but I want to remind you guys to subscribe to this YouTube channel because this is the new YouTube channel. They're keeping the old one. That's okay. We can rebuild. Also, amazingly, we are available on Spotify. We're available on Apple Podcasts. Wherever you listen, we are probably available. And I want to thank all of my supporters on locals.com. I could not have done this, literally could not have done this without your basically investment in me and in the studio. I feel so blessed. Let's get into some stories. So this is just Candace, which is very, very exciting because it's an opportunity for me to do ads in a different way as well. And I wanted to really get involved with the advertisers and to read you ads that I actually believe in, to bring you to companies that I actually believe in, that I think align with our mission as conservatives, our mission as Americans first and foremost. And so I am so proud to tell you guys again about Good Ranchers. You guys should definitely be getting involved with this company. The backstory is amazing. It's not one that they share often. It's about a couple that just really felt God tell them that they needed to get into this market because we know there are just such horrible toxins going into all of our food. So support this company, guys. Father's Day is coming up, and that is a great time to jump in and to try Good Rancher's new box. You're going to get your meat delivered right to your door. And if you're thinking about your father and you're going, oh, what can I get him for Father's Day? Yeah, well, it's called the King Cut Box. It's a true dad is king of the grill experience, packed with 2 thick cut bone-in ribeyes, 4 center cut filet mignons, and 2 thick cut bone-in New York strips. It's a feast fit for a dad king, the perfect gift for this Father's Day. And that is not it. Exclusively for Candace listeners, we're going to offer free bacon for life. Are you listening to me? Free bacon for life. They did that exclusively for me because I told them how much I like bacon when we were on a call. With any new subscription, that is what you are going to get, plus 10% off your first order as long as your subscription lasts. You guys already know the problem with food. We're importing our meat from all over the globe. So what is the solution? Good Ranchers. It is 100% American through and through. So anytime someone purchases a box from Good Ranchers, they're going to help family farms, and they donate a portion of the proceeds to Paralyzed Veterans of America. Their mission is to help bring Americans back to the table and to support our nation's heroes. So you've got farmers being supported, ranchers being supported, and veterans who fight for our freedom and work tirelessly to put food on our plates also being supported. So just change the way that you buy meat today by visiting goodranchers.com. And when you get there, be sure to use my code CANDACE. That's the only way you're going to be able to claim your free bacon for life, plus 10% off your first box. Again, that's code CANDACE. Make this Father's Day extra special with Good Ranchers. It's the perfect gift, and it's the perfect way to support the show. goodranchers.com. American meat delivered. So, some bad news. Zelensky, America's welfare queen, apparently doesn't like me. And there's a lot of people. He is making a list and checking it twice. This is crazy, but it is true and it is real. And people are actually concerned for my life because of it. And I understand why. So Robbie Starbuck tweeted this. This is insane. A Ukrainian NGO just put out an enemies list that includes U.S. citizens. This list blames us for Ukraine's issues on the battlefield. Here's where it gets crazy. The founder of this NGO was trained by the U.S. State Department. The list includes me, Elon Musk, David Sachs, Jim Banks, Rand Paul, Jack Posobiec, Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens, J.D. Vance, Michael Knowles. Oh gosh, every single time. I don't know. He's like the nicest person in the world. For some reason, he's on the list. He's always on the list. Josh Hawley, Eric Schmidt, Ron DeSantis, Don Trump Jr., Tucker Carlson, Ron Paul, Thomas Massey, Dan Bongino, and the Tate brothers. It goes on and on. The list is actually longer. The founder's name is Anatoly Bondarenko, and he was trained at the State Department's tech camp. Now he's using that training to target U.S. citizens with an enemies list. The NGO also received United States funds. This is beyond unacceptable. Not only are we being forced to fund a meat grinder killing countless young men and women when peace could have been attained, but now that country that's been taking our money has a group targeting U.S. citizens, and the U.S. government trained their founder. Yes, yes, yes. Corruption is thy name in Ukraine. It has always been a laundromat for America. I was kind of the first to call it out, but I'm very, very shocked to see myself on this list. Seriously, what did I ever do to Zelensky? Was it something I said?
Oof. I am not going to say that I'd like to punch Zelensky in the face because that's violent. But I am saying that if I could get away with punching one person in the face and have no consequences, it would be President Zelensky.
I see no problem with that statement. I stand by it. Turns out Zelensky wants to punch me back. Oh, if only it were that simple. We are dealing with Zelensky. He is obviously a psychopath, a deranged psychopath, also a liar. And yes, he is, in fact, sending Christians to the slaughter under the guise of something else. I think he is just your regular Bolshevik. You see men wearing crosses being dragged out of their homes, screaming, praying, asking not to be dragged out of their homes. And it is, in fact, a meat grinding operation. And I think because many of us have the courage to call this out and to stand up to these state-sponsored initiatives and ask questions about what is actually going on, we have wound up on his list. And yes, that is scary. That is scary, but I remain brave. I am not so concerned about my life when it comes to Zelensky because he's a very, very, very small man. Now, you probably are not going to be able to save my life from Zelensky, but there is good news. There are plenty of other lives that you can save. And I am obviously have always been a proud partner with Preborn. You've heard me talk about Preborn. I'm going to keep talking about Preborn. They have just the most wonderful Christian heart that is operating behind this company. I don't even want to get into the people that work at the company because I won't even be able to tell you more about what it is that they actually do. But we all know what we're fighting here with Planned Parenthood. It is demonic. It is evil. They are raking in billions. And they continue to do that because they have these partnerships with the government. And at the end of the day, they are taking the lives of our nation's most innocent. It is utterly disturbing that they have grown to the size they have grown into. But I do believe that we're starting to change the conversation in our country. People are starting to realize who Margaret Sanger was and what abortion actually is. It's not about choice. Of course, the infant never gets to choose. And the people who go through with abortions tend to have, by the way, a lot of regret. Planned Parenthood is generating vast profits, including millions in taxpayer funding. And the way to reverse it is with Preborn. Yes, Preborn. That's you and it's me. And we get to actively steal their clientele, meaning the babies that they are trying to kill, we get to save those little precious lives. Preborn operates on a very slim budget, rescuing over 200 babies' lives every single day with no government funding. Preborn's network of clinics are situated in the darkest corners of the nation, competing head-to-head with the abortion giants, and they need our help now more than ever. When you donate $28 to Preborn, you will offer a free ultrasound to an expectant mother that is caught in a crisis. And I'm telling you, once a mother hears the heartbeat of their infant, everything changes. I will never forget that moment for each of my children. And what ends up happening thereafter is that her baby's chance of life doubles. You get to sponsor that. You can sponsor a precious baby's life today. Your tax-deductible gift will go directly towards saving their lives. You just dial pound 250. You say the keyword, it's baby. That's pound 250 baby. Or you can go to preborn.com/Candace. That's preborn.com/Candace. Okay, now for this crazy true story. I don't know if it's Providence, but this is a true story. So I'm just going to share it with you guys. Back in 2022, obviously, when Kanye tweeted the infamous Death Con 3 tweet, and I had been spending a lot of time with Kanye, and the whole world came down on him, and they banished him, and they said, you must go away and never return. You know, it was a very difficult situation for me to maneuver, first and foremost, because I just don't believe in ever throwing friends under the bus. And there was this like obsessive journalist effort to make me do it, to make me join the chorus of voices that were saying awful things about him. I don't know why they wanted me to do it. It felt sadistic. It felt like, oh, well, you know, you're his friend. So we want him to know that he's truly alone. And I never bit. I just thought to myself, at the end of the day, all I'm ever trying to do is lay my head in the pillow. If I want something to somebody that is in my life, I say those things privately, as I've said on the show over and over again, whether that is a colleague, a friend, a family member. You deal with these situations privately is the right thing to do if you have any sense of honor. Well, here's what happened. He, at that moment, right when that tweet had happened, wanted to come on my show to talk about it, to talk about what was going on in his life that made him say that. And that request was turned down, obviously, because that was not my own network. Totally fair. You can decide what guests you want to have on your network if they're representing ideas that you believe in. And sometimes networks just want to avoid a controversy altogether. So I have no issue with that. But he was deeply upset by it. And Ye kind of turned to me and said, your voice is being controlled. You don't even get to have me on, and we're friends. And the only thing I could say to him at that time was, I have this ghetto camera. Why don't we go to my house and just record a podcast? Like right now, with all of this fire going on, I think that might have been the day that he had found out about Adidas, or maybe it was another company. And I just said, let's just sort of lock this up in a time capsule, because one day I will have my own platform. And I do want to hear what it is that you're thinking right now and why you're doing this. You know, your whole life from the outside looks like it's being burned down. What is motivating this? And so we went to my house and we recorded a podcast for a couple of hours on a ghetto little camera. And it's crazy to listen to that conversation now. Now that he's not the hot topic and cooler heads have prevailed. It's something that I'm really, really excited to bring forth to you guys on this newer show. Obviously, we don't have time to do that today, but I do want to show you a clip of that conversation. But before we do that, you know, Kanye, the artist formerly known as Kanye West, did give us Gold Digger, a great song. So let me at first tell you about Goldco. What a wonderful transition that was, right? I am just nailing it. Like, the Candace show is lit. After everything that you have been through this year, ladies and gentlemen, after all the inflation that we've seen these last 4 years, after watching your taxpayer dollars fund these endless wars, the welfare queens of other countries, after witnessing the persecution of a political opponent like some banana republic, after witnessing all of that, what are you going to actually do to protect your hard-earned money? Because if you think it's safe, then I've got a bridge in Baltimore to sell you. I know what I'm going to do. I'm always diversifying, and I do that with gold and with silver, the type of money that this administration cannot control or inflate away. For this show, I've decided to partner with the top-rated precious metals company, Goldco. Not only is Goldco helping support the new show, but they're also helping me protect my money from the never-ending wars, the debt, and the inflation that is coming from this government, which has been a disaster, this government. And right now, they are going to offer my audience up to 10% instant match in bonus silver, but only while supplies last. So go to CandaceLikesGold.com to learn more. I just love that. CandaceLikesGold.com. Who doesn't like gold, right? You'll get a complimentary wealth protection kit to arm you with the facts about how precious metals can help you. Again, you're just going to go to CandaceLikesGold.com. You won't forget it, because that's CandaceLikesGold.com. All right, guys, crazy. That was a crazy announcement that I just have this time capsule with Ye. It's crazy to listen to this. I'm only going to give you a minute of it right now because we are so out of time. And really, this episode is just announcing that I'm back. And also, I want to double check with him that he's okay with this time capsule. It's really remarkable to hear what he is saying now. In the retrospect, and sometimes the time things sound totally insane, and then when you listen to it backwards, you hear where his heart was at. So take a listen to this little teaser.
There is a way to appeal to both sides and find that place of happiness. There's things where like Trump and Biden had a lot of places where they aligned when I looked at their policies. So I'm really interested in really bringing happiness back to the world, bringing joy back to the world. But we have to call people on what they're doing for there to be happiness in the world. We can't just say, oh, it's okay for people to like super complicate deals and to collude on deals and to not look at us as human beings, as artists and athletes and actors, that we have to be willing to like stand up for that to be able to change something. And we need to come together as a society to be the first civilization that actually became civil, to stop war. Like people, it's a possibility of having a worldless world where the human species is not at war with each other, but we are more sophisticated because of social media, because of the information that we have now. And we got to have people like us and God using us to push that to the next side. And we got to get control of our country. We have to get control of our family. And right now there has been an agenda in the media and in politics to remove God, remove the family, and to remove our country from us. So it's time for us to take control again. And with God God's on our side, so that's what's going to happen. I've got faith in that. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
I don't know what else to say, you guys. That's it. And there is a lot more. And this is just the beginning. This is just the first episode. We are just getting started. Do not be the last person, of course, to join Club Candace. By the way, we're also selling signed ones. The first one that I signed is going to be sent to Andrew Klavan so he can capture his own woke right tears. I want to make sure he has something that will keep them cold, that will keep them hot. I don't know if they run hot or cold. I don't know what's motivating Andrew Klavan, but I do know that he is going to get one of the signed mugs, which means there's not going to be much left because that is obviously limited. And again, these will be discontinued every time we hit the next 1 million followers. You got to catch them all like Pokemon. So head to clubcandace.com if you are looking for a meaningful way to support my independent work. You guys, I love you all. I got to tell you, when I found out that my show was canceled, I was really sad. Then I remembered, wait a minute. I am Candace. I am the show. These are my people. You can't cancel Candace, and nobody knows that better than my great friend and colleague, Ben Shapiro. I'll see you guys next time.